The atmosphere at Flushing Meadows during the final days of August is usually a predictable symphony of high-stakes preparation and rising anticipation. You see the usual suspects commanding the largest crowds, the icons of the game whose faces adorn every billboard from Manhattan to the outer boroughs. But as the 2026 U.S. Open approached, a curious phenomenon began to unfold on the periphery of the main stages. If you were standing near the practice court fences, you might have witnessed a scene that defied the traditional logic of the WTA rankings. Imagine a spectator, phone held high, peering through the chain-link barrier. She hadn't originally come to see the woman on the court. Her target was Carlos Alcaraz, the titan of the men's game. Yet, like so many others, she found herself pulled away by an undeniable magnetic force. She followed the sheer volume of the noise, a roar that seemed misplaced for a secondary court, leading her directly to Court 5. The source of that electricity was Alex Eala. As of August 24, 2026, the official record books listed Alex Eala as the world number 18. In the hierarchy of professional tennis, 18 is an elite position, a testament to world-class talent and grueling consistency. But it is not typically a number that commands a fortress of security guards or a digital broadcast infrastructure usually reserved for the legends of the sport. Yet, there she was, surrounded. Even during a routine practice session, the USTA security detail formed a human ring around the court. Fans were packed rows deep against the fence, straining for a glimpse, a photo, or a moment of proximity to a player who, on paper, is not yet a top-tier seed. This is the intersection where the sport of tennis meets the business of global stardom. A player ranked 18 does not, under normal circumstances, receive the treatment of a top 3 icon. This discrepancy is the real story of the 2026 U.S. Open. It raises a fundamental question that resonates through the boardrooms of the USTA and the broadcast booths of major networks. Why is the United States treating Alex Eala like a superstar before she has even reached a Grand Slam final? The answer tells us everything about the shifting landscape of athlete marketability and the way the tennis establishment is betting on the future. The simplistic explanation, the one most often repeated, is that Alex has Filipino fans. It is a true statement, but it is an incomplete one. To say the Filipino community supports her is an observation. To understand how the U.S. Open is leveraging that support is an analysis. The real narrative took shape during Fan Week, that critical window between August 23rd and August 29th, just before the main draw matches begin to define the season. Fan Week is not a random series of events. It is a highly curated, meticulously planned operation. Every choice made by the tournament organizers, which practice courts are assigned, which sessions are live-streamed, who is invited to exhibitions, and where security resources are deployed, is a calculated decision. These decisions involve significant capital and logistical coordination. When a player ranked 18 is prioritized in this way, it signals a systemic recognition that something much larger than a ranking is at play. It suggests a ripple effect that will eventually touch television coverage, sponsorship valuations, and the geographical expansion of the sport itself. What we saw at Flushing Meadows was the tennis business making a public declaration of Alex Eala's value. To understand the weight of this moment, we have to look at the 5 essential pillars of Alex Eala's current standing. First, there is the raw data of her career. At just 20 years old, the Filipina star has climbed to a career-high ranking of number 18. This isn't just a number, it is a gateway. Second, that ranking allowed her to walk directly into the 2026 U.S. Open main draw. There was no need for the uncertainty of a wild card or the exhaustion of the qualifying rounds. She arrived by right of achievement. Third, and perhaps most importantly for her momentum, was her performance leading up to New York. Earlier this summer, Alex captured her first WTA singles title at the Mubadala City DC Open. To win a title on hard courts just weeks before the U.S. Open is the ultimate proof of form. It wasn't a fluke, it was a milestone. Fourth, she followed that victory by reaching the 3rd round in Toronto, dismantling formidable opponents and proving that her game could travel and endure. By the time she stepped onto the grounds at Flushing Meadows, she wasn't just a product of hype. She was a player in peak professional form. Fifth, the interest surrounding her is not a sudden burst of lightning. It has been a steady, rising heat. The Tennis Channel had already flagged the extraordinary fan engagement surrounding her at Indian Wells the previous year. What changed at the 2026 U.S. Open was the institution's response. The tournament stopped merely observing the attention and started building their entire promotional strategy around it. There are 4 specific facts from that week that stand out as evidence of this shift. The first occurred on August 24th. As Alex reached that career-high ranking, she was moved through the Billie Jean King National Tennis Center with a security detail that felt more appropriate for a head of state or a global pop icon. For a player outside the top 15, this level of protection is an anomaly. It forces us to ask why the tournament felt such a high degree of protection was necessary. It suggests that the crowd response to Alex has reached a level of intensity that requires tactical management, a luxury and a burden usually reserved for the Alcarazes and the Goffs of the world. The second fact involves the digital footprint of the tournament. The U.S. Open's official YouTube channel made the deliberate choice to live stream Alex's practice session with Elena Gabriela Rus. To the casual observer, it's just a camera on a court. To the industry, it is a massive production undertaking. A live stream requires dedicated camera operators, production staff, real-time graphics, and the integration of sponsors. These resources are finite. When a tournament allocates that level of production to a practice session, they are identifying that player as a primary attraction. In 2026, that level of digital spotlight was focused on Aryna Sabalenka, the world #1 and defending champion. By placing Eala in that same broadcast tier, the U.S. Open sent a definitive message to the global audience. Alex is a headliner. They recognized that the fans' appetite for her doesn't start when the first point of a match is played. It begins the moment she steps onto the grounds. The third piece of evidence came on August 27th at Arthur Ashe Stadium. This was the night of Stars of the Open, the crown jewel of Fan Week's ticketed events. The lineup was a curated list of the sport's present and future: Amanda Anisimova, Marta Kostyuk, Arthur Fils, and Alex Michelsen. Included in that prestigious group was Eala. While many of those players held higher rankings or were being aggressively marketed as the next generation of American hopes, Alex's presence in that lineup confirmed that the USTA views her as an integral part of the sport's global elite. The fourth fact is perhaps the most telling regarding the tournament's broader strategy. On August 24th, Fan Week featured a traditional Filipino dance performance at Fountain Plaza. This was not a coincidence. While the performance was part of a larger cultural showcase including Chinese, Japanese, Thai, and Indian heritage, the timing was unmistakable. The U.S. Open was consciously tethering Eala's athletic rise to a broader cultural celebration. They weren't just showing a tennis player to fans. They were connecting a rising star to a specific, vibrant, and highly engaged demographic in the heart of New York. When you synthesize these 4 facts, the security, the live streaming, the exhibition spot, and the cultural programming, the pattern is undeniable. The USTA's broadcast, event, and security teams were all operating in perfect alignment. That kind of institutional synchronicity doesn't happen by accident. It happens when a Grand Slam tournament decides that a player is a priority investment. This brings us to a larger point about the nature of fame in modern sports. We often operate under the assumption that fans are a byproduct of rankings, that a player wins matches, moves up the ladder, and the audience follows. Eala is proving that the inverse can also be true. Her audience has arrived first, and the rankings are the ones playing catch-up. The crowd surrounding her during Fan Week weren't just there because she was number 18. They were there because of her market value. The security ring around her isn't just a sign of status. It is a response to a logistical reality. Alex herself has noted that this level of attention is not without its complications. She pointed back to an incident at the Australian Open where the crowd became so dense and intense that her team deemed it dangerous. In New York, the security detail was an operational necessity born from the sheer volume of her celebrity. When fan demand becomes a safety concern, the sport is forced to change its fundamental approach to a player. The beauty of Fan Week is that it serves as the ultimate free market for fan attention. Because the events are largely free and open to the public, there are no ticket sales to skew the data. Fans aren't funneled toward a specific court because they paid for a seat. they go where they want to be. And in 2026, they consistently chose Eala's court. They walked past the practice sessions of world number ones and established champions to stand at the fence of Court 5. This suggests that the Filipino diaspora effect is only one part of the equation. Thousands of people who have no direct cultural connection to the Philippines are choosing to watch her because they are captivated by the story and the talent. We saw this in the woman who came to see Alcaraz but stayed to film Alex. Those individual choices, multiplied across the thousands of people at Flushing Meadows, create a signal that the tennis establishment cannot ignore. It is a signal that reaches every department of the tournament, informing everything from court assignments to hotel security. However, we must temper this analysis with the reality of the sport. None of the hype, the security, or the cultural performances can hit a backhand for her. None of it guarantees a victory in the first round or a deep run into the second week. A Grand Slam draw is a merciless thing, and the pressure of this level of attention can be a heavy weight to carry. The ranking of number 18 tells us what she has done in the past. The attention she received during Fan Week tells us what the world thinks she will do in the future. Right now, there is a significant gap between those two things. Her ranking says she is a top 20 player. The atmosphere around her suggests she is already a top 3 star. That gap is the most compelling story of the tournament. Whether Eala can close that gap by lifting a trophy or climbing into the top 5 remains to be seen. But the 2026 US Open will be remembered as the moment the business of tennis stopped waiting for the rankings to prove what the fans already knew. Eala is no longer just a rising prospect from the Philippines. She has become one of the most valuable brands in the women's game. The institutional decisions made by the USTA, the live-streamed practices, the Arthur Ashe exhibitions, the specialized security, are all evidence of a player who has crossed over from being an athlete to being a phenomenon. The woman at the fence, holding her phone high to capture a few seconds of a practice session, was participating in something much larger than she likely realized. She was witnessing the public unveiling of a new era of sports stardom. The security team knew it, the broadcasters knew it, and soon the history books may reflect it as well. As we look toward the main draw, the question remains, what is the true value of seeing a star in the making? For the fans at Flushing Meadows, the price of admission to Fan Week was free, but the excitement they generated has created a market value that is nearly immeasurable. The rise of Eala is a reminder that in the modern world, the noise often precedes the triumph. And at the 2026 US Open, the noise was deafening. If this reading of the market is accurate, then Eala's journey through the main draw will be the most scrutinized and celebrated narrative of the year. Whether she wins or loses, the sport has already made its decision. She is the future they have been waiting for, and they are protecting, promoting, and preparing for her arrival at the very top of the game. The gap between 18 and 1 has never felt so small.